It's Friday evening and I'm in Samut Prakan, and in front of me I've got a BMW V10 engine, and on my right I've got a Sadev Racing 6-speed gearbox. And this is going to be one of the most crazy projects I have ever covered on my channel. What's happening here is the first step in building a replica in Thailand of the ESPACE F1, a completely crazy project that Renault did in the mid-90s. Basically, it's like a Formula One car with a carbon fiber body and 4 seats looking like their ESPACE MPV, which is something that you carry families around in. Now a guy in France wants to build a replica, and he's come to this company, DXM Motorsport, in Samut Prakan to do the job for him. And so far they are building the engine, they've got the transmission, but this project is completely crazy. First of all, they stripped down an ESPACE in France and shipped it over to Thailand. The frame turned up. Customs said, no way you're bringing that in the country. It did a U-turn and went back to France. The project had a big problem, but Facebook came to the rescue. Someone saw a picture of a car for sale, and right in the background was an ESPACE. They are ultra rare in Thailand. Anyway, they rang up, said, we don't want to buy that car, but can we buy the ESPACE? The guy said, yeah, sure. The deal was done. They had an ESPACE. Then they sent someone to the Renault Museum in France, in Paris, where this car rests. And they said, can we 3D scan the whole car? Because we want to build a replica. And Renault said, no problem. So they 3D scanned the car. Then they 3D scanned the ESPACE that they dragged out of a scrapyard in Thailand, and they overlaid them, and they started planning, and they started doing CFD to make this replica. But they also had one problem. France is a left-hand drive market, Thailand is a right-hand drive market. The car that came and got as far as customs was a left-hand drive. The car they found in Thailand was right-hand drive, so they also have to swap this project from right to left-hand drive. And this is just going to be a no-holds-barred project. I'm going to talk about the engine, I'm going to talk about the transmission in a minute, but the chassis, it's going to be chromoly, specially designed to fit this in and get the weight down as low as possible. And the bodywork is going to be all carbon fiber. It's going to be mental. The suspension is going to be double wishbone racing suspension all around. It's just going to look like an ESPACE, just like the original. Completely mental, and there seems to be no budget limits. They're talking 20 million baht already where they're at. And I think that's going to balloon even further. But this project, there is no limits on it. It's going to be completely crazy. And that's why I'm down on a Friday night in Samut Prakan checking out the start. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to tell you first of all a little bit about the ESPACE F1, the history of it. And then I'm going to show you this engine, this gearbox, what's going on the mechanical side. The chassis, like I say, it's down in Chonburi being fabricated. When that's done, it's coming back up here, and then I will show you that when they assemble it here. So, next thing, let's just talk about the ESPACE F1, because you may not even know what that is, or you may have completely forgotten what it is. They dropped it on the public at the 1994 Paris Motor Show, and it was a star. If F1 did an MPV, this would be it. And that starts with a carbon fiber body all over. And the front end had huge intakes, and down the side there's this really distinctive triple slot feeding air to the mid-engine. and a giant wing on the roof. Already, before we get to the mechanicals, we're a long way from the school run. But then the power, and into it went a pucker F1 engine. The RS engine that they used in Formula 1 was a 3.5 litre 40 valve V10 which could rev to 13,000 RPM, built for F1's V10 engine formula. The other thing as well is a V10 engine, 10 years of the Espace is like a happy birthday. These are 10 candles on the Espace's cake. And Renault really wanted to push out the boat and create a great birthday for the Espace because everyone else had come into the market. They wanted to remind people that they had invented the MPV and they were still top of the tree. The engine that went in, which was used in the Williams FW15C in 1993, and you could not get a better engine on the planet. That car won 10 of the 16 races, took 15 poles, took Alain Prost to the driver's title and won the constructor's title for Williams. A pretty much clean sweep. But Renault's engineers, not to be outdone, the F1 engine was 700 horsepower. To put it in the Espace, they squeezed another 100 horsepower out. That's crazy. And being French, and being a French project, they put 4 seats in it. So the engine was sitting in the middle of the rear seats. That must have been hot and pretty noisy if you sat in the back. It used the F1 semi-automatic gearbox out of the Williams Formula 1 car, feeding the power through to the back wheels, and the performance figures are completely and utterly insane. 0 to 100 in 2.8 seconds, 0 to 200 in 6.9 seconds, and a top speed of 312 kilometers an hour out of something with the aero of a truck. Now they built 2. One was a static, that's in the Matra Museum. One was the actual car that went out on track, that's in the Renault Museum. Very shortly, the world is going to have its 3rd Espace F1. Well, I think it's going to take a year at least to build this project. I've just got to tell you a little bit of background on the owner, because clearly he's a full-on car guy, clearly he's quite crazy, and it seems he's both of those. Frank Gallieg, he owns a place called Movie Cars Central Museum, about 50 kilometers south of Paris, and he collects movie cars. His collection is upwards of 40, and he's got the best of the best. I'm going to kick off with Fast and Furious, because if you watch my videos, you buy into the whole Fast and Furious thing. He's got 12 Fast and Furious cars, 8 are originals. I should say that his collection is a mix of originals, a mix of replicas. But anyway, he's got 8 original Fast and Furious cars, which is completely insane. He's also got cars from RoboCop, he's got cars from Jurassic Park, he's got a Herbie Beetle, he's got an A-Team van, and he's just bought John Wick's Mustang, the original Mustang. The second thing to say about this guy is he doesn't believe in putting them all in a museum, putting ropes around them and letting them gather dust. They all go out on the road, on track, and some of the cars he rents out to people to drive, and some of the cars can take out on track. So it's a living, breathing, dynamic collection. Anyway, I haven't met this guy. I am looking forward to meeting him when he comes to Thailand to check out on his project. But in the meantime, I'm going to drop a link down to his YouTube, drop a link down to his website, so you can catch up what is going on. So we'll start with the engine, because basically to make this video, this is the only prop I have. I've got to squeeze out 15 minutes for YouTube with this being my prop. Now, the first question is, why use the BMW V10? If we go back to the original Espace, it used a Formula 1 engine out of the Williams. that would be a logical go-to. They're available, they're crazy expensive, and it's going to be crazy expensive to rebuild one ready for this project. But this project has no budget limits, so that's not a problem. The problem comes is that with the Formula One engine, you need half a dozen engineers to fire it up, and you're going to be rebuilding it every other day. And they need practicality. They need to be taking this thing out on hot laps at the weekends or the weekdays pretty regularly. So they needed something else. Now, the logical go-to really will be the Audi Lamborghini V10, because that's popular. There's loads about. It's tough, it's durable, it's got a massive racing heritage, and it's available and it's not expensive. But when I say a massive racing heritage, it doesn't have any F1 connection, and this does. This engine was built by BMW's F1 design team during their F1 program with Sauber. They used their know-how, they used the technology, and they used some F1 parts in this engine. So by taking the BMW V10, you have that F1 connection, which the original Espace had. It's not a common engine. They built it from 2005 to 2010. It only went in one application, the M5, which was the first production sedan in the world to get a V10 engine in it. It's a 5-litre V10 90-degree engine dubbed S85 by BMW. There's not an awful lot about, and they're very rare in Thailand, but they went looking for one, and bang, they found one straight away sitting on a pallet in Bangkok for sale, and that box was ticked off. I so had to get them to turn the engine over just to show you this dry sump. That's more than a dry sump, it's more like a piece of art. Apparently this started off as an 80-kilogram chunk of aluminium. 40 hours CNC later, you got a 10-kilogram dry sump, and they needed it as low as they possibly can, and that is as low as you possibly can get. It's anodized, and the gold color is a nod to the original Espace, which was in gold. So they want to bring those cues into the project wherever they can. And right here is one of them, although you're not going to see this when it's in the car, which is why I really wanted to turn it over and show you before it kind of disappears. Obviously, the production oil pump is gone, it's been thrown out, and here you've got this oil pump with 4 outlets going into the dry sump. Here, 1, 2, 3, 4. So let me just show you the sump up close, because that is absolutely beautiful. I'm just going to put it down. I do not want to be dropping this. Anyway, straight on to my next prop, a piece of plastic. This has been 3D printed upstairs, and what they have done is they have printed this out. They have offered it up, and they've adjusted it till it's as tight as they possibly can. What they want is a dry sump to be as low as possible, because they want to get this engine down as low as they can. One of the biggest objectives of this build is getting this engine right down in the chassis. In terms of the bottom end, mostly the same, but they put forged pistons, performance pistons for the BMW V10 that come from America, and they've also got uprated conrods to go with them. So let's briefly mention what's gone on in the top end. We talked about the cams and everything separately, but basically with the ports, with the inlet and the exhaust ports, everything was scanned, everything was simulated in CFD. The flow has been simulated, the shapes and the diameters have all been optimized, and then the ports were CNC machined. So it's absolutely perfect. These works of art are all designed perfectly for the inlet, and this fuel rail as well has been machined by them as well, designed specially for this. So one of the key objectives of this project, as we keep coming back to, is getting the center of gravity down. Anything that can be lowered is lowered. And also another objective is to get rid of all the belts and the ancillaries on the front which drain power off the crank. So you can see it's been cleaned out. This water system, OEM part, it originally went there, that's all gone. And instead they've CNC machined some parts to go in its place. And I got more props here as well. Here's the original oil pump, which is chain driven, that went there. This is history. And we've got 2 more oil pumps as well. They're history, they're all gone. And also the water pump, which went right here, is gone as well. They'll use an external electric water pump. And one of the reasons for that is this is going to be doing a lot of hot laps. It's going to be going out on the racetrack, doing a lap, coming in, taking someone else out. So with the electric water pump, they can manage the speed of the pump, the speed of the water flow, much better than if it's mechanical and it's going out, going fast, and then stopping or ticking over. So they got rid of that. And also the power steering, that's gone. That will be a separate pump as well. So I got a completely clean front end here. And also with the cams, they're getting rid of the adjustable cams here. This will be a much simpler, lighter system. There'll be new cams in it and new cam covers as well. In fact, you can see here, they're 3D printing, designing new cam covers for it. So it's going to be a lot cleaner, a lot more simple as well. And it's going to be a lot better in terms of the weight distribution, in terms of not losing power off the crankshaft. Let's move on from the engine to the gearbox. Now DXM, they are the official reseller in Thailand for SADEV. SADEV is one of the top competition boxes in top-end racing, in world rallying. These boxes are tough, they're durable, they can handle power, they're versatile, and they'll work with a V10 no problem. This is a 6-speed box. When it goes in the car, it's going to have a paddle shift transmission from the gearbox onto the flywheel and clutch. Now the M5 V10 OEM flywheel is 15 kilos. They've done their CFD modeling, and when they machine their own flywheel, it's going to be 1.1 kilos. Onto that's going to go an AP Racing 3-piece clutch, and they will also design and machine their own bell housing to make that onto the gearbox. So anyway, that's me done. I'm going to be back here. I think it may be 6 months by the time this engine is all complete and ready, and the chassis is all complete and ready, and it comes up here to be assembled. But stay tuned for part 2. And if you like this video and you want to know more about this project, please subscribe. And if you can, please like my video, please share it. And if you've got anything to add, please drop it in the comments below. Thank you, and I'll see you soon.